All right, well, while we wait for people to come in, I've been reading Pedagogy of the Press from Paulo Freire. A super amazing book, actually. Sometimes it gets a little extreme, but it's pretty good. Revolution is neither made by the leaders for the people, nor by the people for the leaders. And he's commonly a person that you read in education circles. This is not what the stream is about, by the way. Just checking. We're going to be updating a resume with Yaml and Json, writing some fun code for that. But I'm just going to read this while we get started. Revolution is neither made by the leaders for the people, nor by the people for the leaders, but by both acting together in unshakable solidarity. And this is where solidarnost comes from, and all those things that led to the Polish Revolution, which led to the Russian Wall, or German Berlin Wall coming down. This solidarity is born only when the leaders witness to it by their humble, loving, and courageous encounter with the people. So after it's been a change, and you've overthrown the bad regime, you got to watch out so that you don't end up stuck again. And this is why I keep coming back to Hunger Games, because she had to do the hard thing, which was to kill the new dictator after the thing was overflow, so the people could rule, and that gets taken over all the time. Not all men and women have sufficient courage for this encounter, but when they avoid the encounter, they become inflexible and treat others as mere objects. Instead of nurturing life, they kill life. Instead of searching for life, they flee from it. And these are oppressor characteristics. So the oppressed become the oppressors. So you just got to watch out for that. Some may think that to affirm dialogue, so he's suggesting that people should talk, the rulers of the successful revolution should actually talk to the people that they supposedly represented. And sometimes they're afraid to do that because they're truly afraid of freedom, he says. And they're actually afraid of the people because now they got power. And they didn't really truly want the freedom for the people. And that's how we got Leninism and stuff. Some may think that to affirm dialogue, the encounter of women and men in the world in order to transform the world is naively and subjectively idealistic. There is nothing, however, more real or concrete than people in the world and with the world, than humans with other humans, and some people against others, as oppressing and oppressed classes. Hey, Anavid Square. So it says here once more, in the ideal dialogical encounter, which is how he suggests the whole world could be fixed, is just talking to each other. He calls it dialogue or dialogable. Cannot take place between antagonists. And yesterday I was talking about education and current state of education, and I'm going to move on now. We're going to code, but I was talking about the certifications and how they're kind of the Linux Foundation is kind of becoming a power structure that has control over everything, and they're buying into the idea that you have to have this antagonistic relationship between the people that you're saying that you're trying to help, that you're trying to give Linux skills to, that you're trying to help, and they have to go through this antagonistic me versus the tester versus the testee situation. And I just wanted to quote Paulo there because that's the very nature of current banker style education, where you deposit stuff into somebody's head, is oppression. And this isn't just Pink Floyd talking. It is oppression, because by its very nature, most education is pitting the teacher versus the student. It's not the teacher dialoguing with the student. And if you look at, I just saw the documentary part on Socrates last night, and that was his big thing. That's actually what got him in big trouble. It was a very conservative time. And Socrates was pushing everybody to talk, and that was his method, was to get people to talk. He didn't even write things down. He was very much against writing. And so the more he got people to talk, the more disruptive the power structures felt he was, and he ended up getting killed because of it. So the stuff that we're talking about is not going to be popular ever, because there's always going to be people in power who don't like it. So giving you the idea that you can learn enough to get a job and be successful at it, or even lead others in that job, without playing by the game is really radical thinking for today even. And it's kind of annoying that that's that's such a radical idea for today. It's 2020. You think we would be able to be past that, and we'd moved on to places where we can learn and teach them. Anyway, so I just want to. Sometimes I have a little introductory thought and I can't recover from it, so I just keep going on it. I'm not gonna do that right now. We're gonna do some tech. So, so hey, how's it going, Peter? I'm probably gonna be here a couple hours till 4. And by the end of it, hopefully, I'll have my resume, the salient parts of my resume transferred over from LinkedIn. I'm going to tell you my sad story. It's always more fun to learn stuff when you know the story. And I'm pretty good today. Actually, I'm a little stressed still because I don't have insurance and I have to get a job because of insurance, and that's the only reason I have to get a job. I can make enough money. That's not the problem. I have to get a job because I have to have insurance, and it's really angering me right now, actually, because I live in a situation where I'm forced to work for a certain type of company just to get the insurance, and I can't provide for my family without doing it, and I'm really kind of angry. So it's if it kind of boils over, that's why. Last night I really went off on Rust again because I was trying to praise them on something they did right and couldn't read their website because it was all JavaScript, React. So that's an example of me blowing up. What do I need to do? I need to do a resume. I went to LinkedIn. I was like, all cool. I was like, this is awesome. Subscribe next to you on live. There's not a subscribe anywhere. Oh, this down here? That's not me. I wish it were. No, I should probably... that's from the YouTube. And I do suggest you subscribe. Let me send you the link because I like supporting the people that make these wonderful backgrounds for us and these background noise and everything. And so I do want to encourage everybody to who watches this to take a moment. I should probably put a subscribe there. But to take a moment, subscribe to these backgrounds and like them and keep these people making these beautiful works of art. This is a good example of why we need art, because we use art all the time. Games are art and everything. I could talk about that forever. This is why I don't work well with the mic because I'm always talking. So again, here's the story. So I went to my LinkedIn, and you're gonna be seeing that today. I'm sorry. It's just better for me to show you while I'm doing it. So I'm going to be doing this, and if you guys want to make your own resume in YAML and JSON, you can do that. I think it's a good idea, and I'm going to tell you why. First of all, so here's LinkedIn. I went out to the developer feed, and I was all excited to be able to pull down. Oh, there's Steve. How's it going, Bob? I was like all excited to be able to pull down my profile and put it into a fancy resume. And if you don't know, so for a long time, it's actually the project kind of died out for a bit, and completely serendipitously, I'm definitely open to work. Yep. I'm looking for Go programming work so I can get insurance. And that's what I was just talking about at the beginning of the stream. Lest anybody be confused, why is this guy looking for preparing a resume? I haven't updated my resume in quite some time, based on the premise that if you keep your LinkedIn updated, you can just copy things out of your LinkedIn and make a resume anytime. And when you're somebody who's kind of senior, and I'm not trying to make anybody feel bad here, but when you become a senior engineer, you're going to have a lot of experience. And in fact, I have so much that it kind of doesn't fit on a resume, right? So I have an opposite problem, and I want to talk about resumes in general while we're going through this. This is a normal thing that I do. Everything that I'm going through here is going to end up in a video, more formally edited video at some point. That's eventually going to be in the RWX app, or the SkillStack app, whatever I call it. And you can go get the edited version that doesn't have me talking about Prairie in it. But so preparing a resume is a big deal, and I have to do one right now. I haven't had to do one for a while, 8 years almost precisely. And actually more than that, because I was at IBM for 10 years and didn't do one there either. So it's been 18 plus years since I've updated my resume, because I've updated my LinkedIn, but I haven't updated my resume. I was actually looking at it. It was really old school. And so this next couple hours, we're going to be talking about resumes, how I suggest we actually move away from LinkedIn for maintaining our information and have a different primary source for that data. And you can probably guess it's going to be Yaml, because it's just easier for you to maintain. It's easier for you to version. And then you can take the content from that and you can put that content into LinkedIn and keep the two synchronized. Unfortunately, and this is part of the reason I'm doing this video, you cannot. So I spent a good part of the morning researching the API for LinkedIn, and I was very pleasantly surprised to see that it's an OAuth 2. So I was able to use my brand new fancy auth tool. And by the way, if you don't know about my auth tool, and you want to do any kind of command line integration with anything that uses OAuth, you might want to have a look at my little fun tool here. I'm just going to plug it. I'm super proud of it. It did have bugs in it, and now a couple of the bugs are gone now. In art and design, you do portfolios on top with your top projects. Yes. I had the impression that this will be the future of resume in general. What's that, LinkedIn or YAML? And what are you talking about? Do portfolios with the top projects? Yeah, that's definitely a thing. We're talking about, there's lots of ways of looking at this, right? And we could talk about that. This also can play into making your own website, right? So this is, I think having a centralized database in YAML of all the content that would go on your resume can serve many purposes. You can generate paper resumes, you can generate PDFs, you can use that as the basis for your website, so you can make your portfolio website, and it can have those projects on there, and you can display them however you want, but the content is maintained in one place. And right now, because I couldn't bring myself to do it, actually I fired up good old LibreOffice, right? LibreWriter, and I was staring at this graphic application, getting ready to make a resume, like in an old school way, the way we used to do it. And I was like, hell no, because I got so much content. I was like, I'm going to type in all this content, and I'm not going to have to edit it and move it around and stuff. And it's like, I really want to be able to do that with like CSS or eliminate certain things if I put tags on them. I don't want to have to literally like cut and paste out of a thing that I cannot ever use anywhere else. And so this is part of that whole knowledge management thing. And unfortunately, when I went, so this is, before I leave, this is OAuth helper, gitlab.com/rbxrob, has insurance for individuals, family, but all pretty expensive. Open enrollment ends 12/15. Yeah, I know. I have it. We're actually going to barely qualify. Here's the problem. If you make more than $60,000, you don't qualify. And so I'm telling you, America is perfectly set up to destroy the middle class, because if you're lower class, you can get healthcare.gov insurance. You still have to pay, and then there's this ridiculous high premium. I don't want to get into government stuff, but and then the only other option is if you make over 60 grand is you have to get insurance some other way. So you better be making enough money to pay $500-$600 a month with insurance through a company. If you don't have insurance through a company, we're talking, for my family of three, $1,300 to $1,500 for decent insurance a month. There's no way I can pay that. And there's no way any middle class, working person, even a qualified engineer, can pay that. It's just totally screwed up. And it's probably best I not talk about it right now, because I'm just going to get really angry. So because this whole system, even though it does provide for the needs of those who are poor, it does provide for their needs. It actually incentivizes people not to make more than $60,000. And when I was in an apartment as a single guy after the divorce, there were people there who deliberately didn't get a job because they would lose their welfare benefits. They were not incented. The whole system is broken, and I just. I don't know what the answer is, but unfortunately I have to play in this system. I can't move. Even if I did move, you still have to pay. You could web scrape. Yeah, I've thought about doing that. So we might end up having to web scrape. I think you're reading my mind here. So I used this OAuth 2 helper to go in here, and then I went to developers and I looked at my app. I'm not, there's no secrets here for you to see, so I can just show you this. Wrong one. So what is it? LinkedIn. So the one that I wanted to get So this is the API, is the full profile. To get the full profile that has all your information in it, in fact, we're probably going to cheat and we're going to use some of this. But to get the full profile, you have to be a registered partner with them, and they have to approve you, and they have to think that you make something. So your stupid little command line app doesn't have a chance. And in fact, the best you can get is light profile, which is your first name and your picture. That's it. So I went through all that, and I actually got it all working. And it uses a 2-year token, which I thought was interesting. I've never seen that before. I don't know if I like that. It doesn't even have a refresh token. Anyway, but it worked with my OAuth app and did all its thing, and now I am kind of happy I did it anyway, because there's another product, they call it, for posting. So I can now post to my LinkedIn profile through the command line, which will come into play later on when I start going back with the live streaming app that I've been making, because I'll be able to post directly to LinkedIn and to Twitter to notify that I'm making a video or whatever. I can even post a video link automatically, which is something I do plan to do. So it wasn't lost time. Plus, I always love testing out my little fun auth package to make sure it works on everything. And I found a little bug in the process, actually. It wasn't saving at a certain point. So that's been really fun. But there's this really great terminal development job in Go that came across my feed completely randomly yesterday. And I'm like, oh my God, I've got to apply for this, because I really want it. I didn't know this kind of job existed. Now I can't think of anything else. I mean, I like the whole, back-end engineer stuff and protocols and stuff, but if I can write terminal UIs all day, oh my God, that's like my dream job. So I've been like scrambling to get my resume done, and went to my LinkedIn, which is all, even the content of my LinkedIn is pretty out of date. And I was trying to say, how can I quickly get this content out? And then I was like, this is annoying. I'm not going to use, some sort of Word or, LibreWriter or whatever. And I like, okay, this has to be YAML or JSON. And I'd already known about the resume schema from JSON resume. So this is a really old project, but serendipitously, they just updated the project 2 days ago. Like, they released 1.0. And it went dark for a long time. Nobody was working on it. There was all kinds of chatter about, is it 8 days ago? So there was like all of these people saying, is this thing real? Is it really still on and everything? Is this thing on? And see, look, 7 years on this stuff, right? And then they finally had a bunch of contributors, because everybody's like, this is a great project. And completely randomly, they made a 1.0 like 8 days ago. So this turns out to be a good time. So to the people, Thomas and the gang, who have been working on JSON resume, props to you. Thanks for, pursuing this. There's actually a number of other ways to capture your data. This, of course, all JavaScript, which we're not going to do. But the schema is important, and that's what we're going to use instead. So there are a couple of schemas. There's the HR schema for XML, which God knows I won't ever use. This is the kind of thing where it's so unnecessarily complicated that if I ever needed to integrate into it, I could take my YAML or JSON data and put it in there. And by the way, when I say YAML and JSON data, it's because they're largely the same. YAML is a superset of JSON. So if there is a JSON schema, you can put it in YAML and then just make sure your YAML gets converted to JSON before you do anything with it. So, and it's much, much easier to maintain handwritten code, handwritten configuration in YAML. JSON is bad for that. It's like really bad. You can't put line returns and all kinds of stuff. But this was conceived back before YAML had really taken off. I mean, it's pretty old stuff. And I've been watching. It's just really funny that it would pop up again. So then I got looking at how they did it. They've actually changed some things. If you go to the website, it's JSON resume. What is it? JSON. Oh, I tried to do this. Yeah, my registry is not working. So this is, okay, so let me back up. So this is the JSON resume site, resume.org. Oh, you have to get rid of the registry. And they have a bunch of themes, and they have a Richard Hendricks. I don't particularly like any of the themes here. The main reason I'm interested in it is because it is a standard way to capture your data. And it's pretty involved. I looked in pretty much every field that you can do in LinkedIn. In fact, there is the thing that says there's a LinkedIn integration, and it doesn't work, of course, because they changed the API and you can't scrape it. It's too bad, because that would have been really cool. So there's JSON resume validator. There's like lots of little tools. There's a Go tool, Go library to validate JSON resumes. We may or may not use this. Hi, Mateus. This is not necessarily a good one. I don't know. We'll go see. Go library to validate your JSON resume according to defined schema. So this is maybe okay. This is not the schema, by the way. I don't know why they listed the schema here. This is like, this does not have projects in it. It doesn't have the whole schema. This is the problem. So their site is out of date. It's not so you have to go straight to the source, and they listed the source there. Yeah, here we go. So if you link to this, you get the actual schema, but this is just a sample of it. And there's all these other site. Represent.io is pretty cool. They all take JSON resume context. So if you want to there are sites besides LinkedIn that actually, push your resume around. And this is a way to submit. And more places are accepting JSON resume in, directly. You can submit the JSON thing because it saves them the trouble of doing all the parsing and everything. In fact, a lot of people think that might be, is that what we were talking about, Miluba? Were you talking about possibly, the eventuality that we're going to be doing all of our resumes in a standard JSON format of some kind? I imagine it's going to be the case, because right now there's a whole industry for just scanning these things, and they're all different, and they don't always scan well, blah blah blah. So that's what we got, and this is a we might end up using this library. I don't know. Maybe I'll just fork it. What's the license on it? Is it MIT or something? Added the license. Apache, yay! Somebody knows what kind of license to pick. So this is where we are. Those are the benefits. The benefits are, look, I have to make a resume, and I have to spend all that money copying over the content from LinkedIn because I can't scrape it easily. There's no API for it anyway. There is an API, you just can't use it because it's like only for partners. And just don't start me on that. And who are they catering to? They're certainly not catering to you. Once again, we are the product because we're not paying for it, right? I'm going to pause right here. I'm going to make a point. Any of the services that we use that we don't pay for, it goes without saying that we are the product. They want to sell our access and information to businesses and to other people, and to sell us through marketing. Okay. What would the difference be if we were the customer? Can you think of a few ways that this would be different? Would I have access to my own data through an API? Hell yeah. It would be a competitive advantage for LinkedIn to provide that. Instead, because I'm the product and my information isn't valuable to them other than to sell it to other people instead of me, I can't even buy access to the API. I have to be qualified as a partner to get access to my own API. They have an entire API developed for producing content that has all of the information, and I could fill out my resume like that, and I have no access to it because I have no way to pay for it because they don't give a shit about me. They want the partners to buy my information. And I'm going to use this as an example. I'm going to make this point because this is why our IT world is so screwed up, because we've been trying to get so much stuff for free that the priorities of the people who ended up being the master providers of all of our resources don't care about the people who are using the resource. They care about the people that they can sell us to. And if we had actually had the balls to pay people whatever 10 or 15 bucks a year for this, we would have access to the API and I wouldn't have this conversation. So every time and every way that I can, I seek to pay for services, even though I don't have a lot of extra money. I pay, I even pay Proton Mail more than I should because I believe in him so much. Because why? Because as I'm paying for them, then they let hard work be the factor. The more you market yourself, influencer, the more you earn. Right. Yeah. Well, hard work should be the factor. I agree with that. But I don't. The more you market, yeah, I don't know about being an influencer. I think that's that's another thing all by itself. I don't talk about influencers, people who don't do shit. They're just the new version of marketing. That's all they are. And there's people who are influencers who are doing stuff too. So they probably can't. It's hard to. It's a different conversation. My point. I just want to make the point. Every time you have an opportunity, even if you're poor, try to find a way to support they're usually going to be very small, but the providers who are making their API available to the people. This is another reason that I like Twitter. Twitter, whatever you think of Jack and the gang, Twitter has provided, they go back and forth, but right now they're providing pretty good substantial access to their API for free. Now that means, Twitter is still marketing to us, and that's fine. The difference is that they actually still value us a little bit as not just, products, but no, this is, these people are using this to create a dialogue, and the companies that are selling us to everybody else, selling us to the recruiters like LinkedIn, after going through this, I have no desire to ever work at LinkedIn. Probably just, burn that bridge, but, and they have a really great learning platform and all that stuff, but ultimately they're not providing what we need, and it kind of bothers me. It doesn't kind of bother me. It really bothers me, because this is my data. This is my hard data that I earned and I entered in here, and you're telling me I can't have access to it except through the screwy web interface, even though you already have an API for it. And probably because they're too afraid people are going to abuse the API. So then just give me a token that only I can use. It's not that hard. GitHub and GitLab do it. Resume-driven development. How's it going, Moshi? And resume-driven development. Distorting the subject. But do you use ProtonVPN? I do. Yeah, it comes free. It comes free with it. It's really great. So here's the problem. I could, if I had access to this data, I'd probably have a resume done, and I'd have my job application in, which is already 18 days late into it. And I'm going to miss this terminal job, and I'm going to have to look for another one, because I'm not going to have my resume finished in time, and mostly because I'm complaining about it. So I'm going to stop complaining now and get some work done. And so, but this is the problem. And, whenever you're doing any kind of IT project or programming project, you're always solving a problem of some kind. And my problem is I need my resume, and all of my resume data is in LinkedIn. And I'm never, ever going to put all my resume data in LinkedIn ever again. In fact, I'm seriously thinking about dropping LinkedIn completely and just having highlight data in there for whatever reason, because most of the people in there are not people that I would, want to do. And then I'm going to focus more on making my own portfolio site and creating an open source way to post your resume online from your GitHub, just like Resume does, but maybe using YAML, maybe extending on this open source idea of being able to post your resume online with your own information. And then you can submit that, and making that super easy through Jamstack. You know what I mean? You can post a resume through Jamstack for free right now, and you can make your own profile site without ever using LinkedIn and have total and complete control over the whole thing, using a static site generator. And there's no reason that we shouldn't be making that and then just flipping off LinkedIn and saying, yeah, go have fun. You go, yeah. And then, people say, well, you're not going to get found and all this stuff is bullshit. I've had some really high top quality engineers not even have a LinkedIn account at all. And they take me to task over saying that everybody should have a LinkedIn. And now I'm starting to think they might've been right, because they've got great jobs and they met people other ways. And Panopticon and Jonestown and mentality. Yeah. Well, I'm just as French as I was 12 hours ago, so I'm doing horribly. Ça fait pas bien. Ça fait mal. Why not some sort of vampire tab you can extend on your router to self-host a resume? Yeah, totally. It's not too hard to do this. That's what we're talking about. So there are technologies out there to do this. And in this, zero opportunity cost, to quote, what's his face from Third Industrial Revolution, we can actually do all this publication. Let me show you a guy. I'm going to pick on a guy. And this is a guy who, can you tell where he got his font? This is an idea of somebody who made a website, and he's got Go and Vue and Rust and Bash, and I'm picking on him, but he's got a little bit of Vue over here that he did himself, and he's got his projects. I mean, it's pretty humble, This is his first site. Oh, there he is. Sean's so funny. He's such a great guy. And he's got his LinkedIn link over here, and he's got a really nice, clean, interface of the stuff he made. He doesn't put crap out there that's public like I do. He's very meticulous, and it's no surprise that he's one of the ones who got a really great job. And here's his LinkedIn profile, and I convinced him he needed one, but he was one of the ones who said that he didn't necessarily want one. Oh, hey, we both know Doris. That's my wife. And it's just really cool to see this little profile page. Now, he doesn't put his resume out here, and there's some people who feel conflicted about putting resume up there, but I feel like it's okay. In fact, more so than ever, I think it's more important that you maintain your own resume as YAML and JSON. In fact, for the young people coming into my mentor community, I'm going to start using this opportunity to teach them YAML and JSON, because a lot of times when we do YAML and JSON, we're like, what do you like to do? You want to do Pokemon? You want to do music list? And so we have to come up with kind of a contrived way of storing information so that I can teach them structured data formats like XML and JSON and YAML primarily. And now I have a very specific example. I was like, okay, on the first day, second day, third day, whatever, this is the thing we're going to start. Here is the model, and we're going to talk about what a schema is. Schema is, what goes in it and how it fits and everything. And believe it or not, it's actually a really great idea, I think. No one needs to XML. Yeah. It's a really great idea, not first anyway, to learn how to organize your data. And in the process of learning YAML and JSON before you learn to code, you actually are a better coder going into it, because it covers what is usually covered in the first chapter or so of most programming books, data structures and variables and data types. So if you learn about YAML and you learn about JSON and what you can put in it and how you write it, you're actually learning about the data types that are universal, because that's where JSON came from. It was a way to universally represent stuff that every language needs pretty much, and we're going to go through that, what that is if you don't know. Strings, numbers, Booleans, nulls, stuff like that. And so this is a good project to start on. So then the first step we need to do is I went ahead and made a site, and you guys know how to do that, right? I don't need to tell you how to make a site. So this is a different topic. So here we have, I made a GitLab project called YAML Resume. This is a library for resumes. This is not my personal resume. So I'm going to actually make another one over here. I don't know if I want to put resume in its own repo or if I want to put it inside of my personal profile repo, but I'm going to go ahead and just make a repo just for my resume. Some people say it's better to just as a gist, but I don't think it's going to hurt to have it as a resume. Another reason too to have it as its own thing is that if you synchronize it to GitHub or GitLab or something, you can fetch it directly by just having it in here as a file. And Artivix don't. Why are you looking at that? Why are you reading don't? Is it down? Yeah, I've got a lot of broken links right now. It's advice don't right now. I think it is. Yeah, let me go check. Sorry about that. I have got so much to fix on there. That's what happened. I kind of threw my hands in the air because I had to reorganize a bunch of stuff. And then I stopped maintaining it. There we go. Yep, there we go. So it's actually advice / don't if you want to go to it. Thanks for the note. And a lot of that stuff I don't agree with anymore. So my opinions have changed. So I'm going to go ahead and make a directory here. And I'm going to make another directory for my resume. but I'm gonna making a library to deal with YAML resumes, and who knows where that will go. How am I grouping my students? I'm one-on-one with everyone. I still have one availability. I haven't interviewed the two other candidates, but I have a feeling they're going to make it. It's funny, after talking about this yesterday, I had 2 more people apply, so I'll be interviewing. So if you're out there, we're going to set up an interview time. Again, just so everybody knows, I run skillstack.io as a private mentoring community to pay for what I'm doing. And that's, if you want to support me, that's one way. Another way is going to be Patreon. Another way is going to be, buying t-shirts and stuff. So I have to start talking about how to be supported on the stream, or I'm going to have to stop it. And I hate that I had to go there, but I'm going to have to do that if I'm going to continue. Service segment.io. Isn't that one of the ones that, let me go peek. I remember it vaguely, and I don't remember if my memory's correct on this. Customer data platform segment. Oh, right. This is one of the ones. This is like, I think this is like that other platform. What's it called? There's a whole bunch of online databases right now that you can just integrate. Personas and profiles. Yeah. Truth of the matter, I personally don't want anyone else to ever have control of my data again. I'm tired of it. So I'm going to make my own. And it's not that hard, and there's already a standard. So why not? And then any other system, just like I don't want to ever blog on Medium, can't get my data off Medium now. All those blogs I wrote on Medium are now stuck. They're stuck there behind a paywall they decided to put up, and now people can't even read it. So we've got to start taking back control and stop giving up control for free because we think it's going to be okay, when really they're just bait and switching you, and then they get you in there, and then you can't have control of anything. So this is a problem, and it's annoying. So I'm going to go ahead and start by making my own resume as a JSON file. Exposure bucks. Oh, sorry. So you're able to mutate and expand only by the content you put on it. Right. What are you teaching, Rob? First time here. Well, right now we're just working on doing YAML and JSON resumes, and just because I kind of need one. So I'm going to make a directory called resume here. This is in my GitLab, sorry. And I'm going to go into this resume directory over here, and I'm going to start working on my own resume. So I'm going to use that as my example. I think I'm going to actually swap these two because I just need to. I don't need to actually do the Go code for right now. So let's do that. So resume. All right. So over here though, I do want to be able to pull down the YAML, the schema and stuff. So if we look at the schema here, so here's a sample. This is a sample resume using JSON schema. For creating templates. Yeah, a lot of people like Yeoman. I don't know if I do. No, no. I'm going to use GitHub profile templates for that. Go templates for that. I'm looking forward to it, actually. In fact, Go has the most powerful templating system I've ever seen. It is so amazing. So that's why Hugo is such a big deal. Okay, so this is a sample Richard Hendricks used, reference to a fictional Silicon Valley character, and this is a JSON file that follows what's called the JSON schema format. Schema is a way of organizing data, how to organize it in a consistent way. I love it. So here we have a bunch of ways we can put stuff in here. Now, obviously, this is a lot more writing, and it's annoying. So we're going to be, messing with this. But I can use this as an example, and I can kind of steal stuff straight from here much easier than I could with the schema directly. And so the other thing I want to pull down, in fact, I'm debating about whether I should make a submodule, or I should just pull down the data. And so for right now, I think I'm probably just going to curl down the data. So I'm going to go back on the website really quick. And in the schema site, we have the actual schema in JSON that is used to define what things can be. So, this is the what a date can be, for example. And JSON schema is an entire, resume or JSON schema is an entire specification all by itself. It's been submitted to the IETF and everything. So it's a big deal. So I can click on raw here, and I'm just going to go down and load this schema for reference and put in my test code. Sorry for the blinding white, but it's not my choice. And then we can go ahead and pull this down. So curl, I'm going to curl it down. I don't like wget. Curl is a better tool all around. And I'm going to do -o. And then I'm going to put that in the test data schema .json. All right, so then I can go look at that test data schema JSON. And so this thing here defines the actual schema itself, like what is allowed and such. I imagine there's already a good how did I get good at use of dash flags in what, Go? I don't use it. I don't like it. I made my own. I don't like options with dashes in them at all. That's just me. I think it's like, the 1970s wants its command line tools back. These days it's all about conversational UIs, which don't have dashes in them, so I don't use them. Unless I so far I haven't had to use one at all. I could just make an extra sub command and I'm good to go. Let me give you an example. So my auth here, right? Auth help. This is the tool I just made, right? Not a single dash, nothing. You just have a bunch of different options, and it's more human friendly, and I can tab complete the whole thing. So I can do auth tab, and I can see all the options. I say, oh, okay, JSON, or valid. Okay, then what? And then I can do restream, but I can't tab that one out right now. But so that's just me. I'm not a. That's also why I don't like Cobra or whatever, Viper and all that. That's just me. So yeah, here we are in the resume. So like I'm going to do my own resume. I kind of want to, there's a part of me that wants to convert it. But imagine it's already been done. So let's go check. So, the JSON schema, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and make a YAML version of this. So sue me if you don't like that. So, and this is because I want to be, I hate reading jobs JSON. It's just horrible to read. And not only that, but I'm going to use initial caps on everything. And people can, again, you can sue me if you don't like it. But I hate the fact that I have to read JSON like this. It's just disgusting. And I'm going to go out and go back into my YAML resume. So this is the first thing I'm going to do. And inside of test data, I'm going to go ahead and copy. Well, let's start a new one. So first thing I need to port over to YAML, and there's probably a script to do this. How long is it? That's pretty long, 500 lines. I could there are YAML converters that I could clean up. Why are you calling your lawyer? Sue me. People have strong feelings about YAML. People really hate it. I love it. I absolutely adore YAML. But because I have a lot of really practical need for it, that saves me from having to use a database. And you can't tell you how much time that saves. And it keeps your project so much simpler. I am going to give in and use a JSON to YAML converter. So something you should know about JSON and YAML is converting from YAML to JSON is a no-brainer. Everybody does it all the time. Converting from JSON to YAML is a much bigger deal because you have to respect comments, you have to keep the order intact, and it's the main reason people hate it. So people who bag on YAML all the time, they're thinking of using YAML as kind of like a cache storage mechanism or as a data transport or something like that. And they're like, they get pissed about the white space and the comments and all the stuff that make YAML great. And the truth is if you understand YAML is designed for human data entry and never to be read never to be written by a computer. then you're good to go. This is why YAML is the go-to thing for all things Docker and Kubernetes and everything, because those are files and configurations that are created by humans that are translated one way into JSON or into their structures that are necessary to do what's going on. The people who hate YAML are trying to use YAML incorrectly 90% of the time. There are some things that make YAML insecure. It can actually be made to run code in the improper context. And people have been saying that we need to make a YAML light, which I would actually like to specify using my pagan language when I finish it, because I agree that there should be a lightweight version of YAML. That's the way most people use it, is just a one-to-one comparison for JSON, when it actually provides linking and a bunch of other stuff that's really unnecessary for just this kind of state. There's a lot of stuff in Helm, and you really start liking it. How you liking Helm? We should probably talk about Helm. Except for the executable YAML parts. Yeah. And so I do believe that we should specify a YAML light, and I just don't have a language for specifying that just yet. Actually, I have the language for specifying it, but I want to do code generation and validation and stuff before I actually do that. So that's, add that to the list. In fact, I'm going to add it to the list literally right now. What time is it? We got time? I'm just going to add it to my wish list. Give me 1 second, please. If I don't write this stuff down, it just doesn't ever get done. So, go template, full YAML to JQ parser, YAML light. Hey, look, I already have it on my wish list. I'm old. Okay, so let's face it, YAML kind of sucks. It allows execution of code. Exactly what I just said. So it's on my wish list. Okay, at least I won't get lost. All right. So that helps me to mentally dismiss a thing so I can move back to what I was doing. And I'm going to copy this, but I'm going to cheat. I'm going to go find a JSON to YAML converter, because I don't want to be staring at this all the time. And YAML converter, I'm sure there's like a ton of them. There we go. Yeah, there it is. That's the actual one, right? JSON to YAML. So let's go grab the... Oh God, sorry. Select all, copy. And let's go. This is dark mode. Why is the other one not? It's kind of annoying. Delete, paste. There we go. So there's our YAML. And that's not too bad, actually. What we talking about? Didn't understand what worked. Did I say that? Yeah. Copy. Did I write that somewhere? God damn. Transparency sometimes works against you. Like in this case. So give me back my thunder, my calming thunder. This really does chill me out. I gotta admit, I apologize for forcing you guys to listen, but it does. It really just chills me out. So, so yeah. So we can do schema.yaml, and we can mess with this. Nope, that's the wrong one. Wrong one. Wait. DGG. All right, and then paste. Yeah, there we go. And another reason people hate it is because of the white space, and I have to admit that I don't like white space, but it does make it clean. This is a case where white space kind of is okay, except for when you get a really long one and you're like, what is this even matching up with anymore, right? Because it's not lined up anymore. But whatever. I actually think this is kind of a crappy model, to tell you the truth. I wish I could redo it. Because it's not flat. It's unnecessarily deep. It could have been flattened. You could have made some more characteristics at the top level than nesting everything. We can find a way for you to press this shortcut and call YouTube full screen. Alacrity, I see you're doing it straight. For you to press the shortcut and call. Oh, you want me to do that? Yeah, I probably should do that. And there's lots of people have been in, I definitely should be able to do that, but it's like, I need a resume done first. That's a great idea though. This looks like it did a pretty good job converting it. So And frankly, this wasn't the kind of JSON file that would have problems, because there is no, JSON to YAML is pretty decent conversion because there's no comments. It's when you go from YAML to JSON and then JSON back to YAML that you have problems, because you lose resolution, you lose some of the order and stuff. But this one looks like it went. I don't know though. Based on the depth of this, look at how deep this thing is. That's like 5 levels deep. This is very much designed by a JavaScript person. I'm kind of wondering if we need a new schema. You know me, I can't accept shitty schemas. I just can't. This is horribly... I've been spending way too much time data modeling, and this is shit. Because to look any one of these up is like, this is going to be, look at this one right here. Properties.basics.properties.name. That's bullshit. It's like total bullshit. You know what? I'm making a decision. We're going to make our own schema, because why not? I'm the only one using it. Who's going to care? If somebody else wants to use it, that's fine. They can use mine. If I need to make a translation for this overly verbose piece of crap schema, then I can do that. If I need to translate, there's another one I found called Yaml Resume, which is already a different model. It may be better or worse than this, but God knows I'm not going to be satisfied unless I'm the one who makes the model. Because, I mean, this is one thing that I really obsess over. I've done data models for lots of people, and IBM, the big one I did the data model that collects all the data from all the machines for all the customers at IBM for auto compliance. And we were really, really anal about how we pick names and stuff. And because this thing is now a standard, and I'm about to put all of my efforts into this thing, and I'm not going to be okay putting my efforts into an unnecessarily deep model. So it's time for us to do some data modeling. It looks like I wasn't planning on doing that. What time is it? 2:51. I need to take a break because I didn't plan on this becoming a data modeling session. But learning how to do data modeling is a big thing. I think we can go ahead and do that. YAML is actually really good for data modeling. So we can do that. And actually, we can do the modeling directly in Go and then create a YAML file from that, or vice versa, actually. Let me think. We can even do it in protobuf IDL. Or IDL itself, the one that was used for Corba and everything. You guys know what I'm talking about? There are other schemas out there. I mean, JSON schema is one way to define a schema, but I don't know. Actually, you know what I'm complaining about is JSON schema itself. Holy shit. Yeah. God, this is ugly. Who made this? How did this become a standard? By the way, this is draft 4. There's a new one. Maybe there's a better one. Let's go see. I saw that there was a new one out there. There's JSON. I just need a resume. God damn it. It's like wait, JSON schema. Schema.org, I think it is. I spell it right. Home of JSON schema. Yeah. Okay. So I'm just going to say something so controversial. People who code in JavaScript all day, every day, create horrible things. They do. Compared to, I had to go there. I just cannot, for dealing with JSON. They're all good for dealing with JSON. JSON is designed to be good for dealing with, but this schema is shit. I mean, it's horrible. And yet it's become the only thing, and it's got they got a new one. Draft 2009, formerly known as Draft 8, has been published. Well, let's see how good that is, shall we? See the specification for details. Okay. The path to standardization. You telling me it's not standardized yet? The JSON Schema project intends to shepherd all 4 draft series as RFC. Currently, we're continuing to improve ourselves. Blah, blah, blah. There's a need to have a JSON schema thing because when you're doing requests, everything is in JSON, right? So you need one. You have to do a request to see, hey, what kind of style is my data going to be in? And the really great thing about gRPC is that you have to create apps that already know the schema of the data, so there's not an extra request to look up the schema. In fact, the very notion of a JSON schema and communicating schema information over the wire is an anti-pattern because it's really slow. JSON itself is already slow. Faster than XML, and so gRPC came around, and it's like, no, we're going to do this better, and we're going to be sending you binary data that you should expect. So there's like a really big part of me. I mean, what if we made a protobuf data structure specification for resumes that's based on it? Exactly. gRPC, why not? It's the fastest communication of my resume possible. It's the most efficient way to transfer my resume. You could make a gRPC request, get resume, and it would have everything in it. We at least have to entertain that possibility. That is like awesome. Oh, you can. My resume is available over gRPC from this address. Can we please do that? Can we do that? Oh my God! Can you imagine? What if you like? You could have everybody just set up like WebSocket servers that hand off the connection and do binary gRPC. Because gRPC is coming, right? gRPC is going to be coming to the web browser soon enough. So we would be the first people to have our resumes with gRPC. Yeah. I kind of want to do that just because it's just so freaking cool. I mean, it's just a resume. Why not have fun with it, right? Here's the thing. If gRPC, if the IDL for gRPC, the interface definition language for gRPC is able to capture the same things that this fucking horrible JSON schema is, then why not? Because we're just talking about structured data, and I can easily write a transpiler or transformer for gRPC into JSON schema. There's already one, by the way. I actually found it on accident. I was looking up IDL, and there was a project out there that was gRPC to JSON schema. Yeah, there's already a converter. So, because here's the really great thing. When you do the gRPC thing, you get code automatically that parses it. Yeah. Now the problem is you can't read it because it's binary. So, but if we define the structure using protobuf IDL, then we would make sure to avoid any limitations in defining the structure for gRPC as the transport. And we could use the protobuf to JSON converter to do whatever we wanted to. In fact, that could help us maybe avoid using this JSON thing because, let's see here. Let's see, URLs per RFC, web developers, blah, blah, blah. I'm at least going to look at this because it's just too cool not to do this. gRPC, that's actually protobuf. Protobuf IDL, it's called. That's the language. Create protobuf IDL messages for .NET apps. How to use protobuf. Data interchange. Interface definition language. gRPC protobuf IDL is designed for humans for both read and write, whereas WSDL is intended for machine readable stuff. If you guys don't know anything about what gRPC is, it's the new transport protocol. It's binary. It's the fastest thing on the planet right now for that kind of thing. It didn't really get popular. In fact, I don't even think it really came out into the mainstream until 2019. When did gRPC come out? What is gRPC core concepts? Blah blah blah. No answer on the front page, so I'll go dig in. RPC say hello. There we go. It is an RPC thing. There we go. Buffers, pro buffers, and IDL. By default, I guess it doesn't have to use proto buffers. That's interesting. It's in the IPC stub. RPC lifecycle unit, deadline flavors, deadline times. RPC. No, come on. Where's? It must be the Wikipedia page. Do they have one yet? Although Wikipedia let us down last night. It had the wrong license for something for Alpine. It said it was Apache 2 and it's not. Do you go over Security Plus and AWS concepts on skill stack? No. Let's put it this way. It's more about what you want to pursue, and I can help you with that, and we can talk about it. The main thing I hit is it just depends on who you are. I have some people in their 40s there that we do all that stuff. But if you wanted to work on Security Plus, I could definitely help with that. August 2016. Thanks, Sardini. No politics. Hi, how's it going, Legan? Legal origin. I mean, there's always a little politics, right? But so anyway, that was a good little thing. So I'm looking for the IDL specification. The language guide. Here we go. Google developers are the ones that made it. This guy describes how to use program buffer kernel language. This is a language everybody needs to learn. It's going to be everywhere. Knowing protobuf language is going to be everywhere. You just mark my words on that one. It's kind of akin to the new JSON for binary data transfer, which is you're going to have JSON and then there's going to be protobuf. The end. And XML. There'll be some XML left around. YAML's going to be the configuration files, but if you're sending data over the wire, it's going to be going over the wire in, JSON, XML, or the most efficiently as gRPC. That is the leading standard right now. It's overwhelming everything. For information on Proto 3 syntax, see the Proto 3 language guide. Let's see. Data access classes to your Proto files. It covers Proto 2 version of the protocol buffer language. For information on Proto 3, which I kind of want to learn. No sense learning the old one, for now anyway. This guide describes how to use the protobuf language to structure your protocol data buffer, including .proto. This is a reference guide for a step-by-step example that uses many of the features described in this document. See this tutorial. I hate the word. People misuse the word tutorial all the time. All the time. People don't even know what a tutor is. I'm not going to tell you what it is. You can go look it up. Okay, so I prefer how to or walk through or work through, stuff like that. Definition of a message type. So you have to put a message in here. It's a search request, a string in 32. Okay, so already I love it because look at how much easier this was in that stupid fucking JSON schema. I mean, look at how clean it is. You can tell right away what things are because it looks like code. Sorry for all the swearing, but so, can I do this?
It's cause I'm so evil.
Anyway, okay. I just had to do that. It was fun. Assign field numbers, specifying field rules. Generating both an open API and protobuf. Yeah. I have seen this for API definitions. I guess it's called ALPS. Ooh, sounds good. BeaconBot is coming. Does he have some things on his? Does he do that? I didn't know. Does he have some of the stuff on his board? He probably does. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So we've got protobuf similar. You can reserve field numbers. God, this is so cool. I'm doing this. I'm doing this. I'm taking my resume in command. Man doesn't need a board. Oh, I guess I could. He's probably a voice actor more than I am. I just can't bring myself to do it. Yeah, it's pretty fun though. It's a pretty fun little board. Hopefully it won't burn out when I leave it on all the time. Every time I get a fancy board like this, it burns out in like a year because I have to leave it on most. They're not made for streaming. They're not made to be left on all the time. They're made to get, shut down at the end of your recording session, blah, blah, blah. Well, I don't do that because I'm doing stuff all the time. And my sound goes through for even when I'm not streaming. Anyway, this is awesome. And I don't know where to start now. So I'm going to kind of back up a little bit. So adding more messages. So you guys thought you were coming for YAML and JSON, and now we're ended up talking about gRPC. Because why? Because I want to specify the resume fields in protobuf language, which is hard to say. It's a mouthful. And then I want to be able to convert it into anything else. And there's already a JSON schema converter. So yeah, you know what I'm saying? As you can see, each field is a message definition, has a unique number. The field numbers are used to identify your fields in the message binary form. Excuse me. It's interesting because JSON, I don't think JSON schema even does this. Nope. Look, you can have an object, a string. Oh my God. There's no limitation. What a piece of shit specification. Language. Array. Created by JavaScript people. I swear to God. JavaScript people have no business making specification for anything. They just don't. Because think about that for a second. If all you know is JavaScript and you've never worked in a strictly typed language, you have no business making a schema, which is the very definition of strictly typed things. This is just stupid. This is stupid. It doesn't specify. Look, I have to know. It is JavaScript people. I'm sorry. I'm offending a whole, but that's me too, right? If I was just a JavaScript person and I said the type is object, which is, I fucking hate that people call structs objects in JSON in JavaScript. It's like, it confuses everyone. So Booleans are false. I've yet to find a number here, probably because there aren't any numbers in the schema. So before I throw JavaScript JSON schema out the window, chiming in seems fine to me. Of course, Python people are like, yeah, Python people are no worse. They're the same. It's like everything's like the only strictness you need is whether it's an int or a float. I'm so glad that world is dying. Everything is going strict typing now. TypeScript. Guido van Rossum says, I've learned through sad experience that you need strict types. Literally said that, like TypeScript, and said, we're going to make Python like TypeScript. Because everybody is waking up to the need for strict typing because it makes code better and more robust and everything. I don't know about Dart. I did look at Dart, but I don't remember if it has strict types. It might. Yeah, Dart kind of died off for a while, and then it came back like in a rage because of the fuchsia thing and because of... I have to know something right now. So does JSON schema have ints and floats? If it just has numbers, I'm going to be like... I agree fully there. Strict typing also makes code easier. What's funny is I don't know why we ever forgot that. It's like sometime probably around 2004 when Ruby came out again. So Perl and Python started it. You can blame them. Perl and Python started the obsession, and then PHP came in and Ruby. And so for the last almost 2 decades, the world has been totally okay with loosey-goosey languages. And so in 2020, everybody's ratcheting it down again and saying, no, man, all those bugs that we had over the last 20 years because we didn't have strict typing at compile time, yeah, we don't want that anymore. So TypeScript, Go, Rust, Crystal, all these languages are all strictly typed now. All the C# is crazy popular. C# destroyed Unity script. It's faster to write code in Unity script than Unity the game engine, right? And they took it out because nobody used it. because, and there's like overwhelming articles on it. They're like, no, you never ever want to do that because you want to use C# because it's a strict language, it's higher, more performant and all this stuff. And so that's just one case. The world has moved on. We're done with loosey-goosey languages. And this is why Python's losing so much ground to other languages, to TypeScript and to Go specifically, and to Rust. It's still going to have a hold really heavily on science and machine learning for a while. In the cases where you need a loosey language, like if you're replacing your spreadsheet, Python's fantastic for that. But until you need to make actual stock calculations that have, what is it, orders of magnitude or whatever, significant bits and stuff, significant digits, numeric types, understanding JSON 7. They have integers, numbers, and multiples. Are you kidding me? Oh my God. How can you make a specification that is only as strict as JavaScript? This is bullshit. What? Are you reading? Am I reading this right? Oh, wait. That might be just for the integer type. Okay. I'll hold my Python until the world builds. A lot of people love it. Yep. Look, I've coded lots of Python, like for 12 years. I know its strengths and weaknesses. Strings are rejected. Okay, that makes sense. So a number, once again, semantics matter, people. So Socrates said, the secret of life is in the definitions, and he used to question people until they could find their definitions of what things were. He would like push back on them, be annoying as hell. That was his Socratic method. Just been reading there's actually a really good Netflix on that. It's called Geniuses of the Ancient World. And exactly. And when you're making a schema that's going to be defined for the entire fucking internet, and somebody has to tell you that an integer is a number, there's a problem with your specification. And I'm about to decide whether I'm going to be okay using this. I'll tell you right now, I'm not. Because this is shit. This is... Who... JavaScript people. I'm playing. Don't get mad. I'm playing. Okay? I blame the JavaScript people, though. They're the ones who came up with this. Apparently, to a JavaScript person, an integer is not a number. I don't know. I'm not going to follow that path anymore. Language specific info. So if you're using Python or Ruby, so this is another serious danger sign. Okay, let's take for a second to look at how gRPC, the most modern, amazing, highly performant standard from the Google team, is, and what they chose to do. So yeah, they have a string, that's nice, but they're saying int32 or int64 or int whatever. That's what actual engineers make. They make good stuff. So this is coming from, the gRPC team. This is coming from people who make nothing but Python, Ruby, and JavaScript. So I'm going to get off that point, but this is just completely torpedo JSON schema. This is bullshit. Never using it. Never, ever using it. If I'm going to use it for anything, I'm going to be converting from gRPC into this. And so what became kind of a silly, what if, is now going to be my main thing, because protobuf is awesome, dude. I mean, that's like, you're basically writing code, which is just data structure, even with a semicolon, for God's sake. I wish they could have left that out, but oh well. And, you can't mess it up. The other thing too, I like, this is something I really, really love about protobuf definition. Do you remember that big, long YAML file that I had? So let me show you. And this is another reason this is good. I hope you guys are enjoying this as much as me. I am really loving seeing the benefits of the protobuf language, which I was kind of, questioning at first, like, do we need to get another language? And now I'm like, oh my God, they did the perfect job creating the way to define structures. Because look at this. You remember I said what the biggest downside of YAML is for this kind of thing? Look at how deeply nested this is. Can you tell what it goes with? Not to mention the fact that you couldn't factor out any of this shit. Like, this is why I like YAML, by the way, and this one could be redone. if I wanted to redo this, I could factor out. I could use YAML links, and YAML links are, people hate them, but YAML links would let you say, okay, items is a thing, and then you would put over here, you put what it is, and then you would make that its own top level, and then you would import it in there. Just like, but they already do that already with protobuf. So check this out with protobuf. So protobuf, see here, check this. I already saw this the other day, so I know what's coming. You can do this. You can say, I'm going to define a type, a structure, and then I'm going to define another structure, and then that structure is going to use the other structure. So your definition of a model, and it's funny because this is almost exactly like Go. I was just about to say that maybe we just need to define our structs in Go and call it a day. And because, Go structs are beautiful, C structs are beautiful, and, they're very precise and everything. And you can tell that those languages, and I probably imagine Dart too. Does anybody know? So Cole, how do you say her name? Cole? Does Dart have a data definition language like this, an IDL, an interface definition language? Because the thing that's really cool about this is they have reserved fields and blah blah blah, and look at this, int32, int64, doubles. You know why they have this? Because this is a binary. This has to create a binary, and oh man, they even have unsigned and signed ints. What? Oh my god, this is awesome. I'm not doing anything but this anymore. But then it's their fucking resume. I know, but still, it's not even gonna have numbers in it. It's all strings. So, but this is fun because we can actually have some. The next time I make a title, it's going to be over engineering my resume. Exactly. You read my mind. Babs, you've been reading my mind all day. You've like literally been saying what I was thinking just right before I said it. Oh god, this is so much fun. See, this turned out to be a boring, repetitive task on my resume. It's gonna take me a little longer, but I'm gonna learn protobuf in the process. And then when I go to my interview, I'm gonna say, here's my resume. I say, oh cool. I said, by the way, I have it available in TypeScript, JSON, Schema, and gRPC protobuf language if you would like it that way. In fact, on my profile page, I'm going to have, as a gRPC spec, I'm going to have a link. I'm going to have a link to my resume that's in protobuf language. How cool is that? That's like the coolest resume ever for a technologist. Dude, we have to do that. In fact, on my main page, I should probably do that. Well, no, I can't read it. I should make my main page so if they hover over my resume, the manager to get a DevOps activity is exactly. See, you're reading my mind as a type of go for. So what you could do is you could have this protobuf have a logo. You could put on your resume. You could put a protobuf up in the corner, and you can have like JSON schema, TypeScript, YAML, JSON, and protobuf. And so when people hover over your resume on your site, they can get your resume in any one of those structured data formats. How fucking cool is that? I would hire me. I'm just having fun now. This is fun. I like this. Thanks for joining me on this crazy wild ride. I only have like 30 minutes left, but I need to take a break though because I gotta pee. Give me a second. do that. All right. Where was I? I'm banging my head against poorly documented YAML configs. Well, at least be happy you can have documentation in your YAML. And that's one of the reasons I like YAML. Because you can actually put comments in it. You can't do that in Java, in JSON. Can you, and you can put proto bug. That's not what it is. Dummy Rob. So dumb. Protobuf language. Yeah, I wrote it in protobuf. I got to figure out how to, what's the nomenclature? What is the terminology here? Yeah, I wrote my resume in protobuf. What's that? gRPC protobuf. What's protobuf? Protobuf is the primary method for writing about for gRPC. gRPC doesn't need to be written in protobuf, by the way. They're two separate technologies. So that would be the technically accurate if you're going to get pedantic about it. You mean there should be documentation in a template file? Oh my god. Darko lol. I can't wait to finish my little tool because I want to like be able to make your Darko lol into an emoji. We're gonna have a version of an emoji. I'm gonna have to. This is gonna be tough, but I'm gonna translate all of the Twitch, emojis that are graphics. Actually, they're not part of the emoji set, into equivalents. I know people are gonna get annoyed, but oh well, because it'll be terminal friendly. And I don't have to figure out what you're talking about there, what your emoji is. So yeah. So many fun things here. It's hard to do stuff that it's required, but my resume certainly does need to be. It's time for me to sit back in, happily with my wife doing yoga in the other room. Yep, that took me longer. She's so awesome. I love her. Kubernetes Docker entry in a README. Yeah. Anyway, so let's get on with this, shall we? I mean, I only have 20 minutes or so I can tell what the next session is going to be, though. So here's your homework, people. Learn protobuf language, because I'm going to be writing it next week. I mean, next session, which is later tonight. What's going on? Why are you doing that to me? What have I done? Oh, caps lock. Whoopsie. Got stuff in my teeth. So that's your homework. Go learn about protobuf, because you're going to need to do it. It goes with gRPC, which goes with microservices, which goes with cloud native, which goes with all the hot jobs right now. That's why you care. I'm still drinking coffee. Yeah, it's really useful to know, right? We just found out we're gonna do our resume protobuf. Yeah, this is gonna be the title of the next video. I almost don't want to do too much of it here, because the title, people are gonna watch this whole video, this hour-long video, hour and a half long, 90-minute video. It's gonna be like, I didn't see him type any of that in YAML and JSON. All he did is bag on YAML and JSON and JavaScript programmers. That's all he did. There's no YAML or JSON there. I'm like, well, there was enough for us to not do it. Last night, the same thing. SQLite went through the whole thing. I was like, hell no, we're not doing this. Just keeping it in Redis. And yeah, I should probably say, over-engineering your resume with protobuf. What's the next session? You know what? I'll go out on a limb and actually make a schedule here. My actual guaranteed times of being online are 2 p.m. in the morning and 2 p.m. at night. So I have kind of a weird thing. So, but I may actually start a little bit earlier tonight. Sometimes I start before 2, but I'm definitely on during that time. So yeah, some people are wondering what's coming next. I think I'm just going to go ahead and officially end this video. I won't turn it off. I'm going to go on and do crazy stuff that's going to get snipped. But so yeah, the conclusion of this video, by the way, is that neither YAML or JSON are fun to do our resume, and we're going to do it in protobuf for the specification anyway, and then I'll write it. God, I guess I could write it. We can write the schema in protobuf, and then we have to figure out how to parse the YAML into the protobuf. But we could use the protobuf anyway. So that's the conclusion. I think I'm gonna try to do YAML plus protobuf, and then JSON's just kind of along for the ride. Tonight though, it'll be, my session's end at 9. Again, if I have one session open, I have mentoring sessions tonight, and my last one ends at 9 p.m. and then we walk the dog or so. So I usually come back on about 10 or 11 or something like that. It just depends on the night, but I will be on till 2 or so. Then I go to bed later. I've kind of a weird schedule. I've kind of a mix. It's working so far. I'm just getting fat because I can't go outside because COVID, and that's just an excuse. I should be able to go running or something. I have so much to do. One of those things is my resume, which I'm going to do while other people code. A lot of times when I have a session, people are so busy coding because it's the only time during the week they code. Can you imagine only coding 1 hour a week? I'm going to ask you guys who code all the time, every day. How much do you think you could learn if all you did was work on coding 1 hour, 45 minutes a week? Is coding? Yeah. Ring Fit? Yeah, that's interesting. I probably should, yeah. You forget what you learn, right? It's like doing a half an hour piano lesson every week without any practice in between. So I do have people who are here. I'm just kind of complaining to myself and you guys. I do have people who are here, and I tell them, I say, look, I'm happy to take your money and help you, but you're not going to get as much out of this if you don't do it during the week. And frankly, if I have people on the waiting list, which I in the past have had, haven't right now, it's a little slow because of COVID. Yeah, leak code. There's so many things you could do. Not to mention just work on your own thing. You could even, if you're going, you could do code combat or, so many things, or just work on your own projects or whatever. And they don't. They don't do anything between each week. I have at least 8 people out of the 25 are fall into that category. And the reason I mention it is because when they're here, if that's the case, their priority when they're here is to code. So I am just watching them code and helping them code, and then I'm sharing a TMUG session like we did yesterday with Penguin. Did you guys see that? So I gotta look into WeChat. But so we do pair programming with Tmux, which you've been able to do since 2000 or before, and you can even do it with a screen session. You could pair program with screen in the 70s. No, 80s, whenever we had internet. And so people tell me all the program anyway. So I sit there and I watch them code, and I give them pointers and tips, and we're connected we're connected over the over Skype or whatever. But during that time, I can often write. I have another window open next to it, and I'm writing code next to it while I watch them. So we're pair programming, but mostly I'm just checking them and saying, hey, you need this there, you want to try this there, and I'm talking through the code because they only have 1 hour a week. So their ultimate priority during that hour is to write code for that hour, and I talk very little because that is the only time that they code per week. And I just worry because their path is like this, It's like, they go up, but they lose stuff, and it's frustrating for me as a mentor, because I have other people who obsess about it. All those people I showed last night in my field trip, those people obsess about this stuff. They do 40 plus hours a week of coding or working on electronics or something because they're just so obsessed with it. They'd rather do that than play games or anything else. And so it's a different mentality. Somebody asked me last night, because I kind of have extra time here. Somebody asked me last night what was the commonality between all these amazing people that I talked about. And the one thing is this absolute hunger to learn. And so they would do that. The other people I have here, I have to beat them over the head and say, well, do you really want to learn? I actually asked a boy that once. He was screwing around while he was in class with like 8 other people with me, and nobody was forcing him to learn or anything. And he was just messing around, like looking at web pages and stuff. And I caught him, and I said, do you want to be here? And he looked at me and he was like all scared and everything. And I was like, no, I'm not mad. I'm like, why are you here? And he didn't know what to say. Because I'm supposed to, because my mom made me, because of this. And I was like, people don't like being pressured like that. We had a little conversation and stuff, and I wasn't even mean. I wasn't mean. I was just direct. I said, why are you here? And he was like, well, because I kind of learn to code and I like Minecraft and stuff. And I was like, okay, well, do you want to do that or not? And he's like, well, I guess I do. Yeah. And it's beautiful eyes. Clementina, you're so crazy. And so he kept saying all this stuff, and I just had this conversation with him. I said, okay, well, why don't you, I talked him through it, and he started working on it. And apparently he went home to his mom in the Lexus. He complained about the potholes in a parking lot because it was by a store. And she came to me, really, really, really rich people. And she came to me. She would never come in, by the way. She always stayed in her Lexus. She'd sit out there and wait in her Lexus and let the kids come in and out. But there was a few people that I dealt with that they were straight out of medieval Catherine era. It was like beneath them to go talk to the servants and the teachers I swear to God, she was super nice, but she just was from a totally different universe. And she was just talking, and we in the parking lot, I would do that. I would go out in the parking lot and I would bounce around to all the different cars, almost like and I would just give him, just talk to him because I wanted to create dialogue and report and everything. And I went to this woman. I were just randomly talking. She goes, yeah, he goes, Mr. Rob, did something happen? Is something happening in class there? And I was like, no, why? Is something wrong? And he goes, well, the other day, so-and-so came home and he was like really depressed. And I kept pushing him on it. And he said, Mr. Rob doesn't have any faith in me. I said, is there any reason? Did you say anything? Like, what did you say? What did you do? And I literally just asked him, do you want to be here? And he thought I was ripping into him. And all I did was force him to confront himself and ask himself, do you want to be here? Why are you here? I'm just asking because you're doing something right now that has nothing to do with why you're here. You only have 1 hour. And I said, well, I told him, I said, look, if you don't want to do this, you don't have to do this. This is one of the things you get to do. How's it going? And we're going to make our resumes in protobuf, ideal language. Yeah, looking up. So I'm just wrapping up. And we decided to throw out Json and Yaml. We're going to do it in protobuf. Actually, we need to define the schema in protobuf, but not the resume itself. The resume itself probably has to be in Yaml anyway. Damn it. Oh well. I'm just thinking here. Anyway, so moral of that little story is I confronting people with their themselves, reflecting back to them who they are, which is what Socrates did all the time. That's what got him so much trouble. Socrates got in so much trouble because he was born in one of the most conservative eras of all of history. The entirety of Greece was totally religious zealots. There was the equivalent of today, like you lived in a place where it was just totally, it was like if you lived in a country where there was, where there were Muslim extremists and Christian extremists and, all of them together. And they were all there. And the only thing Socrates did was push them. He would push them and ask them questions through Socratic method. And his idea of changing the world was identifying people, particularly young people, because they could be affected. And he would go right to the border. It's super interesting. I had never known the story. He would go right to the border of where he could go. There were certain areas that people under 18 weren't allowed to go there. And so those people would hang out at that spot. And he would go there and hang out and wait for people to come through. And then he would use the Socratic method on them, because that was his intention to change civilization, was to get people to think about their existence and in different ways. And it started to really piss off all the conservative moms and dads. I mean, it really did. Can you talk about this? If I made progress in a brief sheesh session, I'd stall it to make me feel good about myself. Have the high, yeah. Yeah, and that's fine. That's fine. If you do good, I do that too. Like if I take a moment, if I've been coding and I've been beating myself up because I'm making lots of mistakes, all of a sudden it works. Yeah, I take a big break and go do something. There's nothing wrong with that. And you can play games and stuff. I'm not trying to say that's not okay. It's just being confronted with what you really want to do is really terrifying. So there's a lot of people don't want to do that. They would rather not. They'd rather not. And when you show it to them, they think you're beating them up. So, and that's why Socrates, that's why they killed him. They killed him because all he did was get people to face their own perceptions of their universe. And actually, there's a really great portrayal of it in this thing. There's a guy, an expert in it from Socratic method in Greece, and the documentarian, she's interviewing him, and he's there, and he's peppering her through Socratic method. And he says, but you said this. And she's like, well, what about this? Can't this be this? It's basically like talking to an Asperger's person. It's like, but what about this? You use this word here. Did you mean this? Because this is also that. And he goes, no, I meant this. And people get pissed because the Socratic method causes you to seek the definitions for the words you're using. That's why I actually thought it was Plato who said this. And I'm really glad that I found the source of this, because I could never find it before. It was actually Socrates who said the secret of life is in the definitions, and the unexamined life is not worth living. And that's you have to kind of ask yourself, what do you think about things? And so when you're talking to somebody with the Socratic method, they're deliberately being nitpicky about the words you pick. And that causes you to really think about what you define things, how you define your reality, and what words you choose to define your reality. And it's annoying. It's annoying, but in the process, you end up you come about this a whole different level of self-discovery, because you're starting to see your own definitions and your own perceptions about what things are. It's just absolutely amazing. I never really got what's Socratic. People would say, oh, they use Socratic method in that school and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I don't know if they do. It's not just asking questions. It's more than that. It's and this documentary on Netflix covers it. Yeah, it's pretty deep. Didn't mean to go there, but so yeah, I'm gonna drop here pretty soon. But next time I do a session, we're gonna do protobuf, and I'm gonna do my resume and redo the resume schema in protobuf IDL, and I'm going to learn about that. The documentary is on Netflix. It's called, she does two of them. Brittany, I think her name is. She does, one of the documents is Geniuses of the Modern Age, and she covers Marx, Freud, and Nietzsche, which are scary stories, man. You think it's really great. They're entertaining, but they're still very kind of long-winded, and they have to be to get the full story. I didn't really truly understand Nietzsche until I watched this. I knew a little bit about him. Scary stories, and then but the one that I'm watching now, and I just watched the Buddha one, which I already knew all about Buddha. Not everything, but enough to know the story that she told. And so she did Socrates, this last one I just watched, and I thought I understood Socrates, and I didn't. There's lots that I missed. They talk about where he was living, and the political environment, and the religious zealotry of the entirety of Athens and Greece. They'd just been beat up by the Persians, and so they were like clinging on to their religion really, really hard for support. And along comes Socrates, this rationalist, that just kind of throws it all. He just kind of throws it all in the air, and people were didn't like it. They ended up killing him. And Confucius is tomorrow. So yeah. Confucius is, he's coming. Yeah. Hey, Alvin. Do you know the one I'm talking about? Did you watch it? Yeah, Confucius is tonight or tomorrow. So Confucius is a big deal, man. Confucius is like, if you want to understand Asians, and I'm not saying it to be racist, but I've studied Confucianism before, and it permeates so much of it. Yeah, it's really good. The really great thing about the Buddhism stuff that I hadn't noticed before is the utopian society that this guy ended up making after he used to kill people by pouring, molten copper down their throats. And he got woke after he won, and he decided he was going to be an enlightened Buddhist society instead. And so they achieved one of the closest utopian societies on planet Earth we've ever seen. They had universities for everything. They had a pseudo democracy. It wasn't really, and they had, everybody was fed, and no. No. Buddhism is in no way related to Hinduism. Nope, they're not at all the same. Yeah, Hinduism is actually a word that was kind of invented by the British. There was no word for it. Now even the Indians use it. Yeah, the pantheon of gods in the Hindu tradition are really fascinating. Here's one right here, by the way. This is my god. I know, no, it's not really, but this is Kali. Actually, it's Kali. She's Durga, but she's in Kali form. She has lots of different forms. And this is Shiva. She's like standing on his chest. She loves him, actually. It's her lover, and she deeply, deeply loves him. And this is him submitting to her on purpose to calm her down. It's like such a great story. It's a really, really good story. Kali Ma. Yeah. Kali Ma. That's Ganesha. I don't have him. I have a painting of Ganesh. Yeah, I love Kali because she represents she's badass, but the monster that she defeated was pride. And so every time I look at her, her job is to destroy the little demons of pride that, like, actually there's a major demon of pride and everything, and then that gets killed and all its blood turns into little tiny demons, and that's what all these heads are. And then she chases them around, and her tongue that's out is to lap up all the blood that fell out of the big monster of pride. And then she's the only one capable with all these arms of, like, taking out all the little baby demons that spun up. So I just really like the image. The image is if you feel pride welling up in your chest and you feel some of those little demons of pride escaping, Kali takes this form to take it out. And of all the gods, they all got together to try to deal with this demon, and nobody could do it but Kali. And Durga had to transform, and she did, but nobody could calm her down afterwards. And so she was like all riled up because she was doing her thing, right? She was in Kali mode, and you had to watch out because you'd be taken out in the middle of it because she had a job to do. Her job was to destroy the pride that it was taking over civilization in this demon, this 300 demon. and Lord Shiva is the only one who could tame her. It makes me almost want to cry. It's just so cool. So Shiva comes to her, and the way he talks her down, he's like, she's totally like in monster form. She's gonna killing everything, but her job's done. And Shiva walks really peacefully up to her. It's almost like a story on how to deal with a woman. I know that sounds bad. It's very sexist. I'm sorry. I'm making a little joke there. But you know, he walks up to her, and he just, you know, puts his hand out, and she's just gonna kill him. And there's different versions of the story. In one version, she knocks him down, and she's like, "I'm gonna kill you," and she stands on his chest, and he's just very peaceful and still. And she recognizes the stillness, and he loves her dearly, and he's like, "Okay, you can calm down now." And she transforms back into Durga. Yeah. And it's just this absolute reverence from Shiva that this is, you know, his wife or consort or whatever you want to call her. She's the only one who could have handled that situation. She was the only one who could bring it back together, but she was also badass enough to take out the monster of pride. And it's just so amazing. It's just such a great story. Every one of these little symbols represents something about her. But when, you know, when people, most of the time they see her on a shelf or something, you know, they get Kali tattoos and stuff. They just think it's just a badass woman, you know. And she is a badass woman, but she's badass for a purpose that once you understand it, it's just so stinking cool. It's the mythology behind it. It's the symbolism behind it that's valuable. It's not the fact that it's a demon-looking god of war, you know, that is clearly satanic and should not be considered, and you shouldn't talk about that shit. Fuck that. There's truth all over the place, and people who are dogmatic are got a problem. Yeah, I like her a lot. That's why she's here. She's here on my mantle because I need to be reminded all the time to just to tone down, to just, you know, chill the fuck out, put that pride aside. Remember that you know, you let that pride get out of check, you're gonna have a big old monster to deal with. And so she's a really good reminder of that. Do I pray to her? Hell no. But, you know, the idea of her and what she represents, hell yeah. So anyway, do you know what lacks symbolism? Your cap again. Why do you miss these opportunities? What do you want to start wearing advertising? I'll start wearing swag so you guys can do stuff with it. Do they have like a ton of god and goddesses? Oh yeah, Hinduism does. So does Greek or Athenian mythology. What's in the cup? This is just coffee. I don't drink anymore. I stopped again. It just rips me a new one every time. Yeah, anytime I drink any alcohol, it just messes me up so bad. It's age. I'm not able to do it anymore. Colbert makes a joke about that a lot of times. He's pretty funny. It's like he had the younger talk show host come on. He's going, we'll go out and have a party. He goes, I can't do that. I have a glass of wine and I can't wake up in the morning. Cause you love it. The Gentoo? Yes, I do. Yeah. So, I got 10 minutes before my first session starts, so I'm going to go ahead and call it for today. I mean, these kind of stories are going to creep in there, and there's just no way that I can avoid that. It's just how I am. But my God, did I have fun doing this resume. I'm going to be coming back. I'm going to have half of it done in Protobuf already, and I'll show you what I'm going to wrap up there, so you guys will have to watch the whole thing. But if you want to have some homework, you know, go learn Protobuf language, Protobuf 3, and if you really want to, you can like learn a little bit of YAML. We're going to do some YAML too, though. And I'm going to go ahead and call it. Does anybody have any other questions before I go? I'm guessing no. You would have asked them by now. And I forgot to repost all of these things to the Twitter. which I should get better at doing. That's why I want a command that just does it all, which I will eventually do. All right, so we'll see you guys later.